We are at the end of the year for the Lions. There is no postseason, so now's a good time as any. Let's give out the report cards. Here are my grades from some of our favorite Lion stars. And we're going to start off with the star. We're going to go with quarterback number 1, Mr. Jared Goff. I got to give him a C. I think that is a fair rating. Got to give him a C. And this is year number 2 on a contract year. And this is a contract extension that we were all buzzing about. Don't pretend that Ford Field Weekly was not filled up with Jared Goff chants. Not even just Ford Field. Anytime the Lions hit the road, any NFL stadium, you heard the Jared Goff chants. You heard it at LCA for Red Wings and Pistons games, at Comerica Park for Tiger games. Heck, I've DJ'd weddings where Jared Goff chants broke out. We all wanted this contract, and if you look at that first year where we got the contract last season, I'd give him an A. Leading this team on a 15-2 run to end the regular season, I would have given him an A that year, but this year he did regress, and that is knowing the kind of quarterback Jared Goff is. Goff is never going to be the guy that can consistently hit the deep ball like our old quarterback Matthew Stafford. He's not going to be the guy that can consistently rush for yards and break free and use his legs to pick up first down. That's not his game. Jared Goff's game is always going to be pinpoint accuracy, and 9 times out of 10, he succeeds in that. If he can hit the open man, if he can find a window, he's good. Almost always. Every now and then, you'll get the outlier where his accuracy is more resemblant of a blind stormtrooper with Parkinson's. Look at the game against Philadelphia. But for the most part, he is a consistently good quarterback, and he's just not going to be the guy, though, that can will this team forward to wins on his own. And I think you can win with Jared Goff if everything's right. He won you a couple divisions already. You can win in the playoffs with Jared Goff. You've already got a couple of those wins under your belt. And yes, you can even go to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff. He got there with the Rams. And I even think you can win one with Jared Goff, but the situation has to be perfect. And you look at the correlation of when we lost Sam Laporta this year, I think that correlates well with where the Lions went on the decline. Jared Goff lost his crutch in Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta was all reliable for Jared Goff. You needed the first down. You needed the critical touchdown. You could go to Laporta. If it went to his hands, it was as good as gold. And when we lost Sam Laporta, that's where this season went on the decline. So Jared Goff, I'm going to give him a C. He can will this team forward. I think if he's got all the right pieces, he can bump that grade up. But this year, I got to go with the C. Let's go now with the player that can single-handedly win you games, and that is Jahmyr Gibbs. It pains me to do this. I got to give him just a B. And let's get the negative out of the way right out of the gates here. I wish I could give him an A. He just went a little quiet the last couple games of the season. You look at the games that we needed to win, games against Pittsburgh, games against Minnesota on Christmas. He was just absent in those gotta-have-it games. So that's why I gotta give him a B, but he does have A-plus level stuff. There is a reason why we compared him to Barry Sanders this year. Not only was he breaking records, but this is a guy that can single-handedly win you games. He did that in the Giants game. Look at the big runs he had against New York in that game, including a game-winning touchdown in overtime. This dude has got A-level stuff, and I don't know if it's going to be next year. I don't know if it's going to be a couple years, but there is going to be a time in the NFL where we look at Jahmyr Gibbs and we say he is the best running back in the game. But as for this season, just because he went a little quiet, it pains me to do it. I got to give him a B. And that brings me to our next running back. If giving a B out to Jahmyr Gibbs is painful, this one is too. I hate to do it, but David Montgomery, I got to give him a D. It pains me to do it. I like him as a dude, good person, and he's a hot topic in Detroit sports. A lot of people point to his lack of production, or lack of touches rather, as a reason this team started losing. To that I say, look at the game against Minnesota, where he had double-figure touches. He had 10 touches, 10 carries. What did he do with it? 25 yards. 25 yards, no touchdowns, and as a result, for him getting the most carries he had in 9 games, we put up our lowest offensive numbers with just 10 points on the board against the Vikings. So I love David Montgomery, but there is maybe, just maybe, this staff knows why or knows what they're doing by not giving him as many touches as Gibbs. Gibbs, he is on another level. It's clear as day he is the better back, so I think it is fair that he gets the more touches. And you talk about Sonic and Knuckles. They have their strengths. David Montgomery's strength was always picking up those gritty yards. Good for picking up that 1 or 2 extra yards, especially at the goal line, getting those first downs. How many times did he get stuffed on 4th and 1, stuffed at the goal line? I love David Montgomery, but he does need to bump up those numbers next year. I think he can do it, but I got to give him a D. That now brings me to the receiving core, and if you were mad at me for giving Montgomery a D, this one probably not going to be much better. Amon-Ra St. Brown, hate to do this too, but I'm giving him a C. And before you come at me, that's because, for me, St. Brown's bar is way high. This guy, you look at the stats and numbers on the year. It's very indicative of top 5. He's a top 5 wide receiver. But the reason I got to drop him to a C is because years prior, he wasn't top 5. He was a top 3 wide receiver. And yes, looking at the stats, yes, he looks good. But the eye test, that's why I got to drop him down a little bit, because he's had some critical drops that this season he had those where we haven't seen those in years past. Critical drops on 4th down, critical misses. And I think he'd be the first one to tell you that his bar is higher than everybody else. Did he still have a good year? Yes. But by St. Brown standards, I think he took a little bit of a step back. So for that reason, I got to give him a C. But before you think I'm being just too negative, I will be a little positive here. I've made a living bashing this guy for the last few years. Jameson Williams, I'm giving him a B. And again, you might find that a little funny because I have made a living being very, very harsh on him. And my criticism for him is never on his ability. I've always wanted to see him clean up his stuff, and it looks like he did clean up his stuff outside of the field. We're not seeing his name in the papers anymore with drug code violations, or that weird thing with the police and the gun pullover, or gambling issues. Those seem to be put to bed. So I will give him his credit on that. Good job cleaning that up, J-Mo. But my biggest complaint was also what we saw in the field that had nothing to do with the game of football. Stupid penalties, throwing the balls at players' faces on the sideline, dunking the ball, Spider-Manning the goalpost. You want to make a living sliding up and down on a pole like that? Go get a job on Michigan Ave. Otherwise, let's just keep that off the football field. And I will give him his credit because looking ahead to that game right before Thanksgiving, I said he needed to step it up as a number 1 wide receiver, a receiver worthy of a first-round draft pick. And in that game against the Packers on Thanksgiving, we lose St. Brown. And J-Mo, he had his best game as a Lion. He stepped it up. I wish he could have completed it. He had a very critical 4th down drop. That could have led to a Lions win. It wasn't perfect, but he showed he has the potential to be a real superstar on this team. And I think he took some big positive strides this year. So for that reason, I'll be friendly. I'll give J-Mo a B. Which brings me to one more wide receiver. This one might also be a little controversial, but Isaac Tesla, finally, we're going to put an A on the board. Give that man an A. And kind of like the St. Brown thing, it's because the bar is different for him. My grade for St. Brown is lower because his bar was this high. Tesla on his rookie year was a lot lower. And while his numbers may not stand out for a rookie year because he received rookie touches, he made the most of them. Some elite level grabs, showed real promise, and I love him as wide receiver number 3. I think he's the best third option, or the best 3-man receiving core we've had since we had the St. Brown, J-Mo, and Josh Reynolds trio. I like Tesla in this role, and I'm actually surprised that he is wide receiver number 3. He has received a lot of criticism for what we've given up to get him in the draft. I thought that was a sign that we weren't going to re-sign J-Mo. We were going to have him play with J-Mo, J-Mo ride out his rookie contract, and then when that expired, bump Tesla up to receiver number 2. That's not the case. This looks like our receiving core, and if we get a healthy Sam Laporta back and the running back duo we have is at their best, I think the Lions offense is looking good next year. And then finally, I do want to talk about one person on defense. It's a name that we love and know, Aiden Hutchinson. I did all my prep, and I still don't know where I'm going to put him here. I'm going to have to do this. It's between a B and a C, but Put him at a C. Drafted second overall. You drafted him to be a superstar, and superstars are required to do superstar things. And I get it. This is his return season after missing most of last year with a season-ending injury. He definitely was productive. I can think of a handful of big moments. The game-winning sack against the Giants, picking off Matthew Stafford. He stepped it up big, some good numbers. But there was a period back in November where he was really quiet, and that's where we needed him to step it up as we were pushing for the playoffs. So Hutchinson, not a bad year by any means, but for a second overall draft pick to get a higher grade, I had to see a little bit more. I got to give him a C. And finally, this isn't a player you'll see on the field. I probably upset a lot of you with these low grades, but this one might be controversial for a different reason. Head coach Dan Campbell, I've been a big supporter for him. I know he's got a lot of haters, but I'm giving him a C. Dan Campbell, and let me say this, he has been an A-level coach his entire tenure. I do have to bump him back, but it's not because of the fourth down stuff. I think that is such an overrated take. Okay, we love when he goes for it on fourth down and it works. Because it wasn't working this year, this is the year we were most critical. You want to say, oh, we could win this game because if we didn't go for it on fourth down, we would have got the field goal and we'd beat Philly, something like that. To that I say, look at the Rams game where you didn't go for it on fourth down. You go for a field goal in the red zone, you miss the field goal, and you lose. Let's say you convert on fourth down, you get a touchdown, you put up 7 points. What did you lose that game to the Rams by? Ding, 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 ding. 7 points. So the fourth down argument, that's not why I bumped Dan Campbell down. Why I bumped him down, yes, he finished with the winning record, but going from 15-2 to 9-8 is a regression. And the fact that I gave so many great players, St. Brown a regression, David Montgomery a regression, the fact that so many players on this team were on the downslide and had down years, at the end of the day, if so many of your students regress, at the end of the day, that's got to fall on the teacher. I love Dan Campbell. I think he's an A-plus level coach, but on the year, I give him a C. Those are my thoughts. Those are my grades. I'm sure you don't love them. I'd love to get your feedback. Let me know what I got right. Let me know what I got wrong, and just feel free to have at it. God bless.